Hey, we are Cardboard Odysseys bringing you another super sick edition of
Right.
Cardboard Conversations. And the emphasis on the super sick edition. We've both got green emphasis for a reason. This is going to be a shorter episode because we've got a lot of spice going on. And, well, honestly, we're both under the weather. We were just both talking about the difference between trading card games, collectible card games, and living card games. And I had so much fun with Bob and Matt, along with Amy, when we were all able to get together and play. It was Hero Quest, I believe was the
Hero
name of it.
Realms. Hero
Hero
Realms. Hero
Realms.
Quest is another game. It's like a board game. This is Hero Realms is a card game. Hey, TCG dude, and there are many. I'm going to be popping things out. Please forgive me. I'm still a bit sick with COVID. There are many living card games. And let me just express. Sorry, I'm just going to cut to the quick of it tonight, folks. A living card game, and I don't even think they consider Hero Realms a living card game. It's just a card game that has expansions. Living card games that are like labeled as living card games were like there's a Lord of the Rings living card game. There was it was a Cthulhu one. I don't remember what it was called. It'll come to me in a minute. Both by Fantasy Flight Games. And the difference between a living card game and a trading card game or a collectible card game is in a living card game, every expansion pack. So if you go out and buy a pack of cards, it has the exact same cards that's in the next pack underneath it, and so on and so on. So you really only need to buy one or however many copies if you need 4 of whatever they are. So you get all the cards that you want. They are utterly cheap. That Hero Realms that I bought with all the expansions and whatnot, maybe $50, right? That's like even a half a box of Magic. And that will have you set up. I mean, you're fully set up to play that game. We didn't even touch the multiplayer mode. The base game that I played with you, that was like $19.95 or something like that. You can get it on Amazon. And it's a ton of fun. It's not a bad card game. It's not ultra simplistic.
And that's one of the interesting things is that there's like a certain aim
stigma
that company was going for. You know, they had a certain market that they were trying to corner, whereas Magic the Gathering is trying to grow and grow and grow. And there are different styles of producing your games. And I think the living card games and even stuff like Lorcana, where there is a certain set of cards and it's you're not chasing after a big hit. I think that certain living card games, much like Monopoly or Risk, you buy into it and you have the items you need to be able to play. I think that's what a lot of Lorcana items are supposed to be, is that you're able to buy in, get the cards you need, and have the fun pool to play into. Their little bit of twist is like enchanted cards, but outside of that, I think that they're trying to stay a lot more towards like Villainous, where it's you buy the items that you need to be able to play the game. And
I'm actually going to disagree with you. It's more of a trading card game. Hopefully it'll be a collectible card game. Yeah. And the reason I say it, because you can't buy like a set of cards that this is your base game. And when you buy a base game of something like the Lord of the Rings collectible card game, it literally is the complete set in there. I think Magic's trying to get to that point. At least that's what they're trying to sell this as. And I think it's shimmy sham flim flam, is that they're trying to cash in on 30 years worth of reprint equity in a collectible card game that people collected on good faith that these cards are going to have some sort of financial value. Anybody who says that that's not a part of Magic, well then, sorry, you're a noob and you haven't been around very long. Everybody's always known that they have some value. They don't have to be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but they're trying to make everything $5. It's turning into where it is so financially upside down from the moment you buy it because it is far more expensive than any other game I own. That's why I stopped, because it's just like, whoa. You know, it's like when the frenzy of like console games. I don't know if you were around in like the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Man, even now they're still trying to charge, you know, $600-700 for a console, and, you know, $75 a game. That just gets out of most people's reach, and that's not even close to what you spend in Magic on the average
It's
player.
funny you mentioned that. I was looking at a game. uh, so I'm a bit under the weather, and I was just looking for a game to, you know, kind of hang out, just have a blanket over me and just play for the weekend, right? And I saw this game I had been chomping over on the PC, and I wanted to get it on my Xbox. I just like the controller. And I couldn't believe it was $30. And I'm imagining I'll play this game for, you know, 40, 50 hours minimum. And to pay $30 and have that much fun out of it. Whereas for a Magic the Gathering product, I couldn't think that if I pay $30 of booster packs, the amount of fun I'll have out of that is going to last 20 minutes. And the amount of disappointment that's going to rack up is that much more.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're in this very weird spot where they're appealing to, of course, they're, you know what, the financial pyramid. Everybody should be familiar with that, where people have the most money at the top, that is really smaller amount, and people have no money, that's the widest amount at the base. Right.
Yeah.
And so by appealing to a wider amount of people that touch Magic the Gathering at the bottom, that are, hey, I can suddenly get these cards that were desirable, that were out of my reach before, and now I can get them. Right. And so the people that were already up top, that spent all that money and been holding on to these things, and they're the ones that would continue to spend the big dollars to open not $150 worth of product during each release, but, you know, thousands of dollars each release. That is not appealing for them anymore. Why would you want to spend thousands when immediately that's going to be liquidated down to hundreds? And that's just, you know, that's sort of the model that they're chasing. And I think it's very dangerous, because you can't have all these cards down at $5, $20. There we go. Cavern of Souls, right? What happens to this card on the next reprint, Pat?
I mean, even right now, we're seeing this at $30 for the list reprints. Avacyn Restored, $28. Double Masters, $31. This is, a lot of people have said that this is a card that's supposedly immune to reprints, and this is, in my opinion, just evidence that it's not. And we'll see it get reprinted again and again, and it'll go from 30 to 20 and from 20 to 1250. You know, it's just going to
That's
keep
what
getting
you're
hit and
absolutely
hit.
right. And I would say do this over and over and over again. Find all the big cards that you used to really desire, right? Take a look. Let's take a look. I haven't even looked, so it'll be a surprise for me. Let's take a look at some fetch lands. Let's look at the big one, which is what? Scalding Tarn? I know the big craze was Scalding Tarn.
Oof.
People couldn't get it. They were just absolutely upset at Magic for not reprinting these in a meaningful way.
Yeah, $16. Retro for 18. I mean, this is just, people wanted it, and now they got it, and then they got it over and over.
And it's going to continue to happen. I mean, I don't know. Cyclonic Rift, I think that just got a reprint. You know, all these staples that you look at.
Yeah.
You know, they're just becoming undesirable for the people that have money. That's a big problem.
Yeah, $40. $30 for revised.
Oh, what about Sensei's Divining Top? I think that was Sensei's Divining Top was like a $50 card. What is that at now? Smothering Tithe. You know, we could go on and on and on. And if you look at the charts on all these cards,
under $12 for Sensei's Divining Top for original champions. That's,
people want to see. This is. Can you bring up Twiddler's statement there? They won't. They won't. This is where I think people are falling off a cliff. It's like lemmings. I don't think that people are just going to keep buying it, right? They're not going to sustain the numbers that Magic's been trying to sustain. And the problem with even changing their ways at this point, the numbers that you see on the screen there, even if they stop printing that card, do you know how long it's going to take for that card to recover?
I mean,
Longer than
years
I'm going to
and
be alive.
years. Yeah.
The fetch lands. So in essence, they're taking the cards that made the game special, that made it different than a living card game, and they are personally cashing in for this short-term period during 2020 to now. And the discipline that they've exercised, the governance of Magic for the last 25 years prior to that, it's like a crack addict that you just taken your entire bank account and said, F it, let's go to Kensington. And you know, now they're zombies staring at their feet. And I don't think it's going to recover. I don't think people are going to continue to buy it. I think as people continue to look at, wait, I'm spending $150 for a box, and it rapidly degrades down to $50 in value. That doesn't feel good.
Unfortunately, I agree with you very much that I foresee that this is going to be a bigger downturn than the last downturn we saw in, 08 or whatever it was.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a recovery from it. I think that's the bigger problem, right? There were different pressures that pushed it down in 08, not this.
Right. This is
a fundamental attack that they made on the game itself. There's no way to undo what they've done here. People say, oh, well, they'll filter through. More people will start playing the game. New players. Are you kidding me? Do you really buy that? And even when the new players come in, there are thousands, tens of thousands, millions of copies of cards out there that people are just waiting for new people to come in. And I don't think the pressure's ever going to let up.
Right.
The people like me sitting on over 100 copies of fetch lands.
One of the things I laughed at was the idea that the special edition versions of cards in Universes Beyond would be a chase item for people not in Magic the Gathering. So, for instance, the One Ring, I don't think that was a chase item for Lord of the Rings collectors. I don't think that they really cared about that. It was probably just for Magic the Gathering people.
Actually, it's even for just a smaller subset of Magic the Gathering people, to be honest.
Right. And to further that point, with something like Doctor Who, I think that the chase items in that set were only sought after by Magic the Gathering collectors. I don't think that set sold more so to out of universes buyers. I think it was really just for Magic the Gathering people that bought into it. It was same thing with the newest Lord of the Rings special editions. I think that the people that are buying into that are chasing after the unique cards that you can't buy other places. I don't think it's because they love Legolas or Gandalf or whatever.
Well, here's the thing is I think that there's a lot of people that have a very short-term scope on what Magic is based off of the boom since Logan Paul. Really is where I would start it. That'd be the pin in the timeline that I would put in it.
Bob has just reminded me I have some tea I am going to make very soon.
So that sounds delicious. So what I mean by that is people are looking at Magic and forgetting all about what happened prior to 2018. And they're looking at this massive rise and drop and thinking of it like, oh, it's an investor game and blah, blah, blah. I hate hearing people say that, no, the investors, blah, blah, blah. The investors have gone. Period. Pure and simple. They're out. They've been out for probably a couple of years already because it was heading in a bad direction. The people that are leaving now
on that note about the investor side, definitely not having any atmosphere in Magic the Gathering currently, I could certainly see Lorcana having attracted a lot of those folks. Do you think that the recent
Possibly.
downturn in box prices is a show that across the market in trading card games we're in a bad place?
Um, I mean, I think you have to look at most of these things in a silo. And what I mean by that is, well, let's take a look at sorcery. Why is it doing so well? Why is it popping off? Honestly, I think that the people that are desperate for that quick hit, the excitement chasing that dopamine hit, I really think that's what it comes down to with sorcery. That it's the
Yeah,
hotness to
right.
chase something in this venue. I think that came and went with Fab. I don't know what the hell's going on with MetaZoo and don't care. Weiss Schwartz, they can keep doing whatever waifu things they want to do. I don't care. Lorcana was a different animal, still is. I hope that it shakes out these quick flip people because I think it's hurting the game and it can't get off the ground. It is actually engaging gameplay. I can't say the same thing for MetaZoo or sorcery or any these others that are out there.
Yeah, so I've got a couple. I've gone through a few boxes of Flesh and Blood, and I've played a decent amount of Lorcana via the Pixelborn app, right?
Mm.
And I've played a couple of games of Flesh and Blood, both the Blitz and constructed formats. And I find, even though it's not as visceral or as punchy of gameplay, I like the format in Lorcana more. It's definitely engaging, and it's also
Yeah.
easier to get into. Hey, what up, Dual Brain?
So, I mean, what I'm saying and issuing some caution because I think people like to. Dude, I don't know where that came from, but no, there's no cards immune to reaper. That's an inside thing where Matt kept arguing with me I don't know, a couple years ago maybe that Cavern of Souls will never go below $50. It's a card that will never go below $50. It never has. It doesn't. It just no matter how often they reprint it, it's going to stay above $50. Nope. And so much so that I had made a bet to Pat. I think it was down to get to 42. Was that what I was saying during Double Masters 2022?
Yeah, I think 42 is the number. Yeah.
And it got down, I think, to 45. And I was like, damn it. I was close. Oh, we already looked at the fetch lands.
Oh, yeah.
Up on the stream, Ed. And my point was, take a look at that. Here's the thing. So Rudy keeps talking about in recent videos and Moxman to some extent too about look at the opportunity. I think you have an opportunity to lose a shitload of money if you're throwing anything at Magic right now. And what I mean by that is a lot of what Rudy's basing things off of, and the same thing with Moxman, is this memory of what Magic's done for 20 years, 30 years. The only problem with that I have, or the biggest problem I have, not the only problem, is that, basing future performance off of past performance is a big mistake because they changed it, right? They changed the way that they interacted, and they being WotC, and what they specifically changed was super hyper overprinting valuable cards, right? And here's a problem, even if they vow to stop and it's the new reserve list or whatever, which I think they're trying to do with all these variants, like this garbage you see behind me. I don't know what that has to do with Lord of the Rings. I've been a Lord of the Rings fan since I was a little kid. And Janis Joplin Black Velvet posters just don't scream Lord of the Rings to me.
Yeah, I didn't know head shop sold Magic the Gathering.
Well, and even trying to read it as a playable card is just like, this is garbage. Sorry. You might like it. I don't know. Drop some acid and stare at your Magic cards, but that's not what I want out of a Magic card. There's plenty of other trippy things you can look at. At any rate, by trying to shift the target around and avoid the basic problem of not just overprinting. Overprinting is a problem that will eventually work itself through to some extent. I don't see overprinting as big of a problem as reprinting. The problem with reprinting versus overprinting is that eventually, if you've overprinted something, you'll work through the glut, is what they call it. Just like with when they produce too many cars of a type or too many jeans or too many hamburgers, you eventually work through that. That's how supply chains work. The problem when you reprint is you're saying, I'm targeting something that had some value because I can extract it being WotC. I'll do it today. And then we won't do it again. Oh, we're going to make a promise. We'll make a reserve list. We'll tell people we won't reprint it again. We promise, until they get in trouble the next time. And what they've done is they've completely lost faith, I think, with most reasonable people that spend relatively larger amounts of money. Was it's not safe. It's what's going to make them not reprint things when they're in trouble next time, right? Is that they have violated a fundamental law of collectibles. Now, if this is the era that they're turning Magic from a collectible card game into, I don't care if you want to call it tradable card game, because nobody trades shit.
Right.
And what I really think that they're doing is they're turning it into a living card game, right? Only they're doing it ex post facto after they've already told people for 30 years when they've been buying the product, oh, hey, you're buying a collectible. You're buying a collectible. And then we're going, just kidding. We're going to turn it into a living card game and just give everybody every copy of everything at the cheapest price we possibly can. I think that is a terrible idea. It'll take a great game, and there's many of them, as we pointed out with Hero Realms. There's tons of great card games out there that die because they don't have that financial value attached to them.
Well, that's, in a way, part of my worry about Lorcana is their standpoint company-wide from Ravensburger is that they want to print it so heavily that it stays at the manufacturer's suggested retail price. And if that is their standpoint, if they want to make it so available that there is no collectability as far as holding sealed boxes of it, what is the point of opening it outside of having play pieces? If they drive people away, if they don't entice people, I guess that's a better way to put it. If they don't make it, something that people chase after, if there's nothing worthwhile in it, how are they going to get people to buy into it outside of just playing the game? And you could just buy the decks and do it then.
Okay, a couple things to answer here, and I want to answer Dual Brain's sarcastic question. I don't care if people do play the same decks, and they can proxy out whatever the hell they want to play the same decks. But it doesn't mean that you get to have the cards. Playing and having the decks is not the same thing as collectors having the cards, right? And I think it is dangerous. Look, I stopped collecting Magic, about a year ago? Is that when I basically stopped, Pat? I said, nope, not buying anything.
Yeah.
Cut back my budget way back.
Yeah, probably.
I have no plans
over last year, same as me.
Yeah. I went from like 6,000 a year to less than 1,000 last year, this past year, and I have plans of $0 moving forward. But I don't care if they all have the same decks. That makes for a very boring. I mean, that's what you see on Arena. It's what you see and I have seen it every time that I played Magic. Since internet came out and net
Although I did see at one time 4 people all play Tovalor decks, and it was they all designed it that way. It was supposed to be a play experience. Everybody built it a little bit different, and that would be a fun way to do it. But if everybody just shows up all the same pre-constructed Brothers War, commander deck,
I hate to say it, Ed, but that's what modern is. That's what, just watch anybody who does streaming. They know what card's going to be played. The only one time that it's any semblance of dynamic play is when it's draft, when it's a sealed tournament. It's not. Magic is very, very boring for me at higher levels, constructed decks. That's why I don't like CEDH. I don't care. Can I build? Can I afford? Can I pilot a CEDH deck? Sure. Could I pilot a $250,000 deck and probably function about as well as most tournament players? Sure. I just have no desire. It's boring. It's not a gameplay that I enjoy. It doesn't excite my mind. It doesn't make me think, right?
No, and
So
I understand that. There's a difference between playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare versus playing Minecraft. There's a different way to engage with your fun.
yeah, but that has nothing to do with what's, with the loss in value, financial value, which we were showing the charts. When you look at those charts, there's only one reason that most of these cards, and I mean like 99.9% of them, are dropping off a cliff. And it's purely from the reprints in the last 3 years.
Right.
Not due to financial pressures from outside, not from some competitor, Lorcana, or whatever other game. It is Magic doing it to itself by reprinting and overdrive reprinting. It's not just reprinting a little bit, which I think is healthy. But I wanted to touch on something else you said. When you talked about the special versions, right? What is even a special version anymore of anything? Like when we look at, and what I mean by that, give me just a second here. When we looked at the masterpieces, boy, that really took the community by storm. And that's because there was a very limited art series of those cards up until that point. And by making that super special version of it, it really made something to chase. And the cost of those, like soul rings, because you could get soul rings much, much cheaper. Even when those soul rings came out and lotus petals and everything else in there, servants painters, you get them much cheaper if you didn't get the masterpiece version. And that was a healthy way to have a collectible piece. But when you try to give that experience to everybody out there, every poor Timmy, it's like trying to give a Lamborghini to everybody out there in the world. It's like it loses its allure. It's not sustainable for the person that gets the Lamborghini. It's not even practical for those with 5 kids. It's not a great way to get to the grocery store. And you end up in this pea soup, man. And I don't mean peas isn't like the green peas. It's like a soup of piss. And where everybody's got all these cards and nobody gives a shit about it. It's like History of the World Part 1 where, guys standing out there in a vendor going, nothing for sale. I got absolutely nothing for sale. Buy my nothing. And that's what Magic's turning into because you're going to end up having 10, 15 cent cards all over the place. And that's going to take away from the allure. You have these YouTube content creators, which many of them already folded, many more will. Many,
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, LCGs, or I'm sorry, LGSs are going to fold. Many are already. Many more will after this holiday season. And there's a whole lot of problems out there that, would really need to make an LGS viable again for Magic. And it's in such a state of disarray.
Well, speaking of
they're
great
chasing away people with money. I don't know how else to put it. Are they bringing in some Timmies that are broke as shit and now they can scratch together a few coins instead of getting their Red Bull for the day?
Yeah.
You need to not appeal to the base, right? The widest number of people that don't have the money to afford it.
That's one of the things I'm happy about with the recent release of Rise of the Floodborn from Lorcana is, unlike the first set, it seems to have come out to market at a closer to MSRP than previous. I think pretty much, 235, give or take, is what it's going for now. Whereas the last set, when it came out, was over $400 pretty quickly.
A lot of that, in all honesty, and I've said it right since the beginning. Paying attention to the numbers of Lorcana right now is a fool's errand, right? I've stated my piece that I'm not buying any of it above retail. I've told you that. I've stuck to my guns. I'll stick to my guns because I said before it even released, I'm like, wow, that's expensive even at retail to me. And in general, I have the ability, without bragging too much, to I have more purchasing power than most in the game space, so to speak. And I'm not going to buy into this ridiculousness that is just predatory purchasing. That in a year or two, these box prices will be even lower. If I buy it at retail, hey, that's what the game came out as. I'm fine with that. I would like to have enjoyed it different than I have so far to date. And in all honesty, I would much rather have been able to go down to my game store and play. And I think that's where the real problem is with Lorcana, and they really need to keep reprinting until they get to the point where game stores can have the damn product on the shelves so that people can actually sit down and play it. I think it needs to be prolific enough that it is in the big box stores, right? I think Disney has a much, much larger potential consumer base than any other trading card game out there.
Oh, dual brain.
I don't even
Well,
know what you're
I
talking
think
about.
one of the worst things to happen to Magic probably is Rudy. Honestly, for so many people to have caught into the hype and to be left holding bags. And one of the largest bag holders is probably Rudy himself. You
I
know,
can't listen to him anymore. I just can't. His drivel saying, "Oh, it'll rebound because of this and that." I'm like, look, the product line changed. It's that simple. There's no way to predict how Magic's going
right.
to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. It
Sorry.
could be dead.
Yeah, I think
To
the
be
way
quite
that
honest.
Magic is produced changed. The way that Magic is consumed has changed.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Put that on a fucking t-shirt.
Yeah, right. And it's just people don't play the way that they used to, and it's certainly not made the way that it had been previously. So basing your current strategies on previous movements is not a smart way to operate
Nope.
anymore.
Terrible idea.
Yeah, and I'd rather just put my money in some index funds or some shit like that,
Oh,
or
just put it in a fucking money market right now at
yeah,
5%
or
or whatever. You know,
buy some
it's a
really
smarter
nice
thing to do.
stocks. I'm just gonna
And
buy
then
some
and
nice, get
have
some.
patience with Magic, right? The FOMO days, if you're still FOMOing, bad idea. And I would say that you need to just hold on to your pennies, put it in something that's actually earning interest at a much greater rate than Magic's going to. And I would say that if you really still want it, here's my suggestion. For anything that you want, and you're willing to put, a TCG order in today or eBay or whatever, take that exact amount of money and put it in an account that earns 5% interest. If 1 year from the point that you are going to make that purchase, you still want it, take that money that's now earned a year's worth of interest on it and buy it with that. I would say you need to wait a full year at this point. Don't even wait 3 months, not 6 months, not 9 months. I'm going to wait at least a year. If there's anything in Magic that I want at all. I would still like some. I'd like to have the commander decks for Lord of the Rings. I really would. But not even at the prices. Like, I want them at so steep of a discount. I want it to feel like Dominaria Remastered.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about what interests me in Magic the Gathering currently. And it's not even currently. It's the Fallout decks in, springtime. That's what's interesting to me. And it's probably the next thing that I'm looking forward to, right? And even as far as that goes, it'll just be cheaper to proxy every single one of those decks than to actually buy them. And same thing with the
Are
Warhammer
you
deck.
kidding? It'd be way cheaper, dude.
Yeah. And
Maybe $50.
yeah, it's tough for me to want to support MTG in what they're producing versus, spending some money on a Chinese printer to send me shit.
Yeah, I mean, even the old stuff, Ed. I still feel very heavily, and just more so every day, that the reserve list is on their radar. I think when they absolutely run out, what they're going to find is when sales start lagging and these prices go up. And I think that these play boosters are not going to do nearly as well as the two SKUs combined did. I think they're overall going to get less money coming in the door. And as they do, they're going to start scrambling as the profits from WotC start to dwindle, the pressure from Hasbro is going to go up because that company sucks. And I mean, it's doing bad. I wouldn't touch that. I specifically told I have lots of different funds, and I told my private investment fund, not my I'm mainly into index funds, just so y'all know, complete transparency. I like index funds. I think that that's a great place to look. I have, very diversified assets, but I do have what's called a managed market account. And I told him pretty much when it comes to like the investments, the only one I wanted to stay far away from is Hasbro. I want no piece of that. And I
Dude,
I think the play boosters are going to end up being a face plant, to be quite honest with you. And they need to stop with the 8,000 different versions of things. It's making people confused as to like, who really wants this version of the Lord of the Rings, right? And it doesn't matter how many people raise their hand. It's a rhetorical question. Somebody's going to say, "Oh, that's the greatest one ring that exists," and then you're going to have others that want the borderless one, and you're going to have others that want a different version of one. And it's a new card. It only has one real printing. And when you look at things like Elish Norn or Liliana of the Veil or any other host of cards, is it nobody really, if you buy into like the masterpiece, right? We'll go with that one. When they come out with one that's more baller than the masterpiece, it's like your masterpiece suddenly feels like a piece of shit. And if you drop thousands of dollars on it, you're going to be like, fuck, it's going to feel bad. And there's many of those out there with like, I hate to say it, but like the expedition lands, the expedition fetch lands. I honestly like the retros better. And they're going to do that. They're going to damage the special version's value by printing a new version of it that just is way baller, that's really cool. Like the Jeweled Lotus, right?
Right. Yeah.
The new, whatever that one was called, the exploded frame art or whatever it is.
Frame break.
They're going to hurt the value of things by perpetually trying to make a more desirable version of things. And then the one that you banked on, your Neon Ink Hidetsugu or whatever, and they come out with one that's even more baller. They're going to chase. They're going to paint themselves into a corner with cards, is what I'm saying. They're going to make it to where nobody has any faith in any version of baller looking cards because they really like this one. And then suddenly, if they paid $100 for the one behind me, come out with a new version of it next year that's even better, and this one becomes $50. That's the only model that they have available to them at this point without breaching the reserve list, because people by and large are showing they don't really care as much about serialized cards as they once did.
Well, hey guys, as you can tell, both Bob and I are both pretty under the weather. I've got to get myself a little bit of soup going, maybe head to bed here pretty soon. Let us know what you think about the current variations of cards as we head into the holiday season. We might well be seeing some Black Friday sales. So if there's anything you're eyeing for Magic the Gathering purposes,
there is one series of cards that I still want. There's still a few cards out there, regardless of the price I want. I would like to finish up my set of dual lands is one. I've always wanted a foil Gaius Cradle. Never had one. Regret not buying one for $100 back in the day. But the holiday series of cards, I'm not sure if you're familiar. They turn out every
holiday. Right, like some goblins throwing snowballs.
Top deck the halls, last minute chopping. That's I'd like to complete that at some point, but talk about expensive. So there are still some collectible aspects of it that I want, but I'm not buying anything right now in this era until I see the change at WotC. the acknowledgement that what they're doing is bad and detrimental to the game, and people are still buying. I don't know if Twiddler's there, out of habit, out of no idea of what to do with their money next, rather than actually buying something that they believe in. There's nobody that's going to convince me nowadays that buys a box, opens it, and feels good after opening it. Sorry. Unless they didn't pay for the box themselves. So I think that that's a very, very bad formula for the future of Magic. And I think that looking at collections, and Rudy was talking about himself, sorry about not putting out videos. I just can't keep ahead of all the collections and shit I'm trying to buy. Yeah, I sent that out to, it's funny you brought that one up. I sent that out to BBD last year. Holy shit, that price, oof, wow. I paid a lot more than that last year. What's the chart on that one look like? Jesus. Can you look longer than that? Oh, and that's not even right. That doesn't make sense. It says it was 49. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was much more. No, it was much more like around $100.
Yeah. A year ago it was about 100, a little over.
Well, I had to get it to him by Christmas time. Yeah, it was and if it's down at $49, I didn't send him lightly played. I did a near mint, but you still.
Well,
everything's suffering.
Magic cards, you know.
It is, and it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, time to hold our breath and not buy.
I agree with that, Ed. I mean, I hate saying that to Magic community because I know it's not sexy or fun. Yeah. You know what it means? It's time to play more Commander Masters, folks. Sorry. Commander Raids. Why would I say Commander Masters? Jeez. It really is time for us to stop the show.
Yeah. Hey, guys, it's been wonderful. Next week is Thanksgiving, so I'm going to be traveling. So if we're not able to do some pre-recorded content, take care. Have yourself some happy holidays. And until then, y'all have been phenomenal, and we've been Cardboard Odysseys. Take care of yourselves and make sure to love your family. Bunches of hugs to you and your all.